One early morning in the Tidmouth Sheds when the sun was rising, the fat controller used a foghorn to wake all the engines.
Cinders and ashes,
Said Thomas.
that was loud.
But it wasn't just Thomas who the fat controller woke up. Henry jumped from his dream. He got such a fright, he wheezed and broke a safety valve, and he couldn't take the wheeze off, and jumped right back to the sheds, and that's how it broke. The fat controller still needed to wake Gordon, so he played the drums. But Gordon was a deep sleeper, so the fat controller decided to play the three loudest instruments, which are the trumpet, piano, and speaker. Gordon got an absolute terrible shock when the fat controller woke him, and his ears were bleeding, and he was tired. But Gordon knew he had to catch a cruise ship for Wales at 5 AM, and he wanted to be a really useful engine and not to be late. So they lit his fire, wheezed steam, blew his whistle, and put his lamp on. And Gordon tried to set off, but he couldn't because his brakes were tightly jammed.
Gordon, you have to get your brake fixed. Otherwise, passengers will be complaining for the whole journey and complain this is a bad railway. You must go to the steamworks and another engine will do your job.
Don't worry, sir. I can manage.
I'm sorry, Gordon, but according to the rule of the Sodor book, we have to look after our passengers and they don't like screechy noises, so we cannot allow that. So another engine will do your job. Anyways, I have jobs for engines. Edward, you are to bring Gordon to the steamworks to get his brakes fixed.
You can rely on me, sir,
Said Edward.
James, I do have a surprise for you, but you have to bring Henry to the works first. Then the surprise will come.
That'll be easy for sure.
James was glad he's getting an easy job for an award.
And Thomas, today your Sodor Search and Rescue Centre's help engine.
Thomas was very happy and excited. He almost jumped off the track.
So I see Percy's the only engine available to pull the express, as everyone else on Sodor is busy.
Percy felt very scared to pull the express, especially because it was a small engine, and he had to go through Gordon's Hill, which would be impossible with so much passengers. Gordon decided to seize Percy.
The smallest and most useless engine pulling the express? Impossible.
Percy ignored Gordon and took a big wheesh and puffed sadly away to get the express. Percy waited impatiently for the express. Just then came trouble with the express. Percy didn't know what was going on. He whistled his whistle so loudly that he could still hear rattling and rolling until the coaches bashed right into him and derailed him off the tracks. And have one guess who done this? The one and only devious Diesel. The fat controller was very cross with him.
Diesel, I gave you too many chances, and you lost your last one. I'm not giving you any more. Doug is on his way to collect you and bring you to the Knapford Harbour to drown at the dockside.
I'm really sorry, sir.
Diesel really was sorry, but since he lied so much, no one believed him. Later on, Duck came to collect Diesel because Diesel would refuse to go through the ditch himself. Duck tried hard to uncouple Diesel when he was rolling into the sea, but Diesel kept pushing back and wouldn't let his driver off the footplate to uncouple. So Duck had to keep trying until the coupling broke, and eventually Diesel was uncoupled and rolled into the water and drowned. Percy came happily home from the works, and since he was so good and brave, he got an engine badge. But when he saw the express and remembered his job, he wasn't happy because it was too heavy. It was so impossible to pull the express with tons of passengers and coaches, Percy couldn't even start in Knapford. and it took him a long, long time. Percy had to wait at a level crossing, and it wasn't a good idea because if he stopped somewhere, it'll take a long time to start again. And it did, especially when Percy came to Gordon's Hill, which was very steep and was very, very hard work, and it was almost impossible for Percy to even reach the hill. It took Percy half an hour to reach near the top, and he was almost there when the coupling snapped, and Percy thought he made it and felt good with himself.
Hooray! I pulled the express up Gordon's Hill.
But his driver reached steam and stopped him.
We have to go back to get the express, as there's lots of innocent passengers we need to look after.
Percy was cross. He thought he'd made it after a hard job. Just where the coaches were running away, James was waiting at Wellsworth Station. James was happy. He was going to a talent show, and he was take part of the Shawnee's engines. He was collecting passengers who all want to see him at the talent show. James was very proud because he was going to get lots of pictures, lots of admirers, and the shiniest red coat of paint, which would make him really, really happy and make his day. James also didn't see the coaches were coming, otherwise he would have changed points. But it was too late, the coaches bashed right into him. A painter on Percy's coach was going to Vicarstown to paint it up, and when he crashed into James, the paint spilled all over him. The fat controller was very cross. He was in Percy's coach too, going to Ballahoo for a meeting with the Ballahoo manager.
I have one thing to say. I'll meet you and Percy at the sheds later. Now, if you excuse me, I got a telephone call to make, so an engine will bring me back to Knapford.
James's passengers still needed to get home, and since Percy's two coaches were derailed and James's coaches were damaged, they all had to squish into two carriages of Percy's express. It was even harder work for Percy, and it took him so long to even start. And since he was not able to go up Gordon's Hill, he had to go the long way around, which would be through Edward's branch line, through the junction, and back again, which would take a very long time. Later on, Percy and James went to Tidmouth Sheds to meet the Fat Controller like agreement.
Percy, you ruined James' record. He was meant to go to a talent show, and since he was so shiny, he could have won. But you made it ruined, and it's too late. Now James has to pull trucks, and Percy, there's no other engine to pull the express, so you have to pull the express. Because Gordon's not fixed yet, and we don't want passengers complaining this is a bad railway. Otherwise, they beat the living crap out of me. Also, Percy, if you don't do that job, I'll scrap you. And James, if you don't do that job, I'll make you as dirty as ever and paint you blue. Do I make myself clear?
Later on, James and Percy were complaining about which job is which. Percy thought James should have pulled the express as it was too heavy for him, and James thought Percy should pull trucks as he's too splendid for it.
I'm pulling the express,
Said Percy.
Percy, seriously, why didn't Sir Topham Hatt allow me to? I'm way more splendid than you. Is he on medication or something?
James couldn't believe his eyes the fact Percy got the express instead of him, especially when the Fat Controller promised him a favour, and especially Percy failed his favour after the coaches bashed right into him.
Why aren't you at the Fat Controller? He makes the rules. It's not like I'm the green controller, you know.
Percy decided to be cheeky.
Well, technically you made the rule for making me not go to that talent show,
Said James smartly. Just then, Thomas and Oliver gave James and Percy their train, James the trucks, Percy the express, but they were not happy with their job and they wanted to switch. Percy was angry about the express, it was too heavy.
Come on, James, follow me!
Percy wanted James to come with him to help him push up the hill, and James will feel proud of himself. Just then, the guard blew his whistle, and James and Percy had to go. James and Percy agreed on one thing, which was swapping jobs, because James hated pulling trucks and Percy hated pulling the express. It was too heavy, and they wanted to switch jobs. Just then, James' brakes were jammed, and he broke down. Percy found it hilarious, and he was very happy.
I'm so glad you broke down, James.
Said Percy, but after James's words, Percy realised that he wouldn't be getting help up the hill, and he'd have to do all the work alone, which could damage him.
It's not good. I broke down. Now you have to pull me, your express, and my trucks.
Percy wasn't happy after all James broke down, otherwise James would have helped him push him up the hill, and the jobs would have been done and over with. Poor Percy had to pull the heavy express with lots of innocent passengers on it, a broken down James with his fuel box on, which couldn't be turned off, and his troublesome trucks with their brakes on, and the brake van. They were all being troublesome. So it took Percy hours to get up the hill, and he was going really, really, really slow. Although they wanted to switch jobs, they had to accept it, which was Percy pulling the express and James pulling trucks, because the Fat Controller is in charge of the railway and he makes the rules. So Percy pulled and pulled with all his strength. He even broke a safety valve, but he still risked to pull it up the hill. And he knew he'd have to go to the steamworks to get fixed after, because it was all his weight and steam. And James wasn't doing anything at all because he broke down. So James was having a wonderful time being lazy. James didn't even help 1%, and neither did the trucks. They had their brakes on and were being lazy. So Percy had to try super duper ultra hard. Later, Percy and James were back to Knapford and felt sorry for each other, so they argued who to be sorry. Percy apologised after James broke down, and James apologised after causing Percy to blow a piston rod after pulling the express up the hill. But the Fat Controller said,
Both of you should be sorry. There you go.
Percy offered James to pull the express for him, and James offered Percy to pull the truck for him.
It's very good to see you two get along again.
After what happened, James and Percy were now good friends, and Gordon came home from the works, and he was much better and mended. The Fat Controller had to talk to Gordon.
Gordon, we can't have you break down much because you're the only engine who can pull the express, and if you do that again, I'll scrap you. Now go along and get your coaches like a good engine. Tender engines do shunts.
Gordon was very happy to be back in action.
Now James and Percy, I don't have any job for you at the moment, so you can, whatever, suck it up or do anything you want. Anyways, I gotta go back home to make my lovely wife, Lady Hot, a cup of tea. See ya!
James and Percy were going to look at the site of Sodor together, and they were very happy to be good friends and help each other in need. And they all puffed happily away to do the really useful Sodor day. And Percy decided to chase James and play the chasing game until they get a next job. And this is the end.